Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Kate with Beautiful Light Home, and today we're going to be talking all about Michaelmas, the Festival of Michaelmas, and Waldorf education. So the first thing is, what is Michaelmas? We'll talk about that. And then why is it important to Waldorf education, and how is it celebrated in a Waldorf school? And then the third thing we'll talk about is how can you bring some of those festival elements home if you're homeschooling. So first and foremost, what is Michaelmas? So Michaelmas is celebrated on September 29th, and it is the feast of Saint Michael. So Saint Michael is Michael the Archangel, and the story behind him is that he defeated the devil. So a lot of times, especially in Waldorf education, you get this combination between Michael, who defeated the devil, and Saint George. Saint George is the patron saint of England, and actually I think several other countries as well, but he's the patron saint of England, and he is said to have defeated a dragon. So he's looked at as like the earthly counterpart of Saint Michael. So the story behind St. George is that there was a dragon that was terrorizing a village. When the villagers ran out of food to give this dragon, the dragon stole a princess, and in comes St. George, and he came and he conquered the dragon and he rescued the princess. So St. George is looked at as the earthly counterpart of St. Michael. And because of that, you'll see, especially in Waldorf education, you'll see a lot of stories about St. George celebrated and performed in play form during Michaelmas. Now, let's also talk about the time of year. It's September 29th. There's two other things happening here that are very important. One, it's harvest time. So in traditional Michaelmas celebrations, you would see a lot of harvest festivals as well. So this is a great time for back in the day where villages would get together and share the bounty of their crops. So a lot of harvest foods, apples, apple cider, things like that are typically eaten and consumed during Michaelmas. The other thing that just happened a few days before Michaelmas is the autumn equinox. So it's a time of year where the darkness is starting to prevail. You're going to have shorter days, you're going to have longer nights, the darkness is starting to come over you. So it's that's why Michaelmas is celebrated this time of year, because Michael conquering the dragon is thought of as that darkness. It's a time of year for, especially back in the day, for people to really reflect on how they would have to be brave enough to encounter those long, dark days ahead of them. So with all that being said, when you look at Waldorf in the classroom, first of all, as everybody knows, or as I've said before, as you may know, Waldorf education believes that a human being is made up of three pieces. We are a mind, we are a body, but most importantly, we are a soul. So Rudolf Steiner, who is the founder of Waldorf education and the big believer and promoter of this idea, he wrote extensively about Michaelmas. And this is what he said about what we have to do as humans at this time. He said about man must learn to make conscious use of the meteoric force in his blood. He must learn to keep the Michael festival by making it a festival for the conquest of anxiety and fear, a festival of inner strength and initiative, a festival for the commemoration of selfless self-consciousness. This is from Four Seasons and the Archangels, specifically the Michael imagination. So he saw this as a time period where we, especially as adults, have to turn inward on ourselves. We have to become introspective and think about what are our own dragons, our inner demons, our inner dragons that we have to slay and conquer. So this time of year, if you think about it, it's a culmination of a lot of big things. And this is why it's celebrated in a Waldorf classroom. It's because not only do we have to, it's this whole festival of being brave, of being strong, having inner strength and outer strength and courage, and finding inner light within ourselves. So in a Waldorf classroom, traditionally, since it's the first month of school, this is the first festival of the school year. So it's a big deal for all Waldorf classrooms across the world. So it's a really good time for not only the classrooms and the classes to unify, but for the school to find unity overall. So it's a really great back to school celebration, kind of kicking off the school year and finding our inner strength and our inner light. So in a Waldorf classroom, again, the whole school would come together. There'd traditionally be a play of some sort about Michaelmas or St. George, and crafts that they would do and things like that. Now let's jump to what can we do at home. So this is my third year celebrating Michaelmas. The first year we celebrated was 2 years ago, and it was just my kiddos at the time. They were 2 and 4, and my mom. So since it was just a small little celebration, my mom came over, and the first thing we did to really bring that harvest element into it was we made baked apples. It's such a super easy treat. We cored the apples and just took out the center, and we put brown sugar and raisins in them, and we put them in the oven for 40 minutes, and I think we served them with a little bit of ice cream. So it was just a fun way to tie the harvest element into it. And then I had bought, we went outside and we harvested marigolds. We had marigolds in our garden, and we harvested them. And then I had white play silks that I had bought online. I don't know why the name of the place is escaping me, but I'll put it in the show notes. And we dyed our play silks gold. Gold and yellow are typically for Michaelmas really big colors, because it's all about, again, that inner light, that inner strength that we're trying to find. So gold and yellow represent that light, and that's why we dyed these capes. We turned them into capes yellow for my kiddos. That year we also, I made these out of wood. I have a laser cutting business, so I was able to do this on my laser cutter, but you could do these out of cardboard. We made swords. We rounded the edges so we wouldn't have, hopefully, any catastrophes, and they just painted swords for themselves. We still use these in our circle time. Right now we're doing some Michaelmas little reenactments during our circle time, so my kids still use their swords. So that was 2 years ago. And then last year, I'm a part of a beautiful Wild and Free group in our area. If you're not familiar, Wild and Free groups are homeschooling groups. It's from the book, The Call of the Wild and Free. It's all about homeschooling and like this beautiful love of homeschooling. And so there's Wild and Free groups all across the country, and ours, I'm so grateful for all of the mamas and all their kiddos. And when I say, hey, does anybody want to celebrate a Michaelmas festival, they jump at it. So I'm very grateful for that. So last year was the first year that we did it in our Wild and Free group, and we did baked apples. I had 18 kids over to my house for it, and we did baked apples just like we had done the year before. And then I did a puppet show. So storytelling is very rich and very almost elaborate. It includes puppets and everything like that in Waldorf education. So I made these puppets back here last year. Here's like a little knight, and here's a king, and here's George, and I had made all of these. I made the dragon, and so I put on a puppet show telling the St. George and the dragon story. Now, if you're looking for how you can make these, peg dolls are super easy and affordable to make. I followed the Making Peg Dolls book by Margaret Bloom, and she has a tutorial on how to make the knight and George and a peg doll dragon. And then in her other book, which is Making Peg Dolls and More, also by Margaret Bloom, she has how to make a dragon out of felt, which is what I had done to make my dragon. It didn't take me that long to do, maybe a couple days in my spare time, and it was fun to make. And actually, George can ride the dragon if he chooses. Anyway, I did a puppet show using the dragon and these peg dolls. If you don't feel comfortable doing a puppet show, first of all, maybe you can find your own inner strength and do it. I did not feel comfortable doing it at first, but I'm so glad I did because I feel like the children were really engaged. But you can always get books from the library. This is St. George and the Dragon. I get this every year at this time from my local library. It is a longer story. I think it's probably longer reading this than it was my puppet show, but it does have some beautiful artwork inside of it. So that's another option as well. So we did that last year. We did the baked apples, I did the puppet show, and then again, I made these out of wood on my laser cutter, but you can do these out of cardboard. I just cut out a shield shape, and the kids painted their own shields, and I had hot glue before the kids got their leather strips onto the back. You could do these with cardboard, you could do these with cardstock. So many different options, and you can even just tape or glue a piece of cardstock onto the back as a handle. So that's what we did last year. And then this year, I'm doing it at a park this year. And it looks like we have over 40 kids coming this year, and a wider range of ages. So we have some really little kids all the way up to some bigger kids. So I will be doing the puppet show again, and then I'll have 2 crafts available. One will be the kids making nature crowns, so really celebrating autumn and still wearing like a crown like a saint or like the king would. And then I'll also have for the older kids a craft that I found on Instagram from Peace. It's at Peace with Nature Handwork, and she shows how you can make swords out of 2 sticks and yarn. So that's what the older kids will be doing. So there you have it. There's what is Michaelmas, there is why is it important to Waldorf education, and how is it celebrated in Waldorf education, and then there are some ideas for you to bring it into your own home. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you've celebrated Michaelmas in the past or plan on celebrating it in the future, I'd love to know what other ideas you have, and if you want to share those in the comments, I'd be so grateful. And if you're looking for more ways to bring Waldorf education into your home, you can find me, you can like and subscribe, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's at Beautiful Light Home. You can find me on Instagram at Beautiful Light Home, and you can also go to my website, which is www.beautifullighthome.com. So I'm so grateful that you could be here with me today, and I hope you have a lovely Michaelmas. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.